Okay, we're holding by Middah number 5. This one is gewaldig. This one is absolutely gewaldig. This Middah number 6, ki chofetz chesed hu. Right? A gewaldige zach. Literally, of course, referring to the fact of HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, desires chesed. So Rav Avigdor Miller Zatzal writes a beautiful idea. He writes there are two real meanings over here, what this could mean. Meaning number one is HaKadosh Baruch Hu desires to do chesed. Right? Olam chesed yibana, the world was built, right, on chesed. And number two is HaKadosh Baruch Hu desires chesed from us. Okay? We need to do kindness. And that exactly is what this Middah, the Tomor Devorah over here in the 6th Middah is discussing ba'aricha. So let's explain. Okay, so it starts like this. A little bit of a long one. There are quite a few Kabbalistic ideas going on over here as well. So we'll try to go through whatever we can try to understand. Kvar parashubim kaimai. We're explaining over here that the Rebbeinu Shalom wants chesed from us. He's already explained in a different place, and actually in his own another sefer called Pardos Rimonim. Sheyesh behechel yodua malachim memunim lekabel gemilas chachasodim she'odom oiseh ba'olam hazeh. Unbelievable thing, this Rabbi say. Says the Tomor Devorah that everyone knows that there is a special chamber in Shamayim that the malachim that are appointed specifically to receive the gemilas chasodim that a yid does for someone else in this world. Okay? That's what's going on. That means every time you do a ma'aseh tov, anytime you do a ma'aseh chesed for somebody else, it's an impression up above and it goes into a separate chamber with malachim over there. V'chashem midas hadin mekach reges al Yisrael. Now what happens if Klal Yisrael do something wrong and the midas hadin is coming down on us in order to chas v'shalom rachman litzlan punish us? Miyad, immediately. Oison ha-malachim marim ha-chesedehu. These malachim that were specifically appointed over the chesed that we do for one another, they come along and they show the Rebbeinu Shalom the chesed that you have done to somebody else or other people have done to others. VaHaKadosh Baruch Hu merachim al Yisrael. And the Rebbeinu Shalom says, that's it. They did chesed for one another. B'schus that chesed, we're not going to allow them to be punished. Mipnei shu chofetz b'chesed. Because of this Middah. Because the Rebbeinu Shalom is a chofetz b'chesed, and again, not the first pshat, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to do chesed with us, which he also does, but the second pshat, which is because we do chesed with one another. V'meyosheim chayovim, right? At the end of the day, true, they're chayev, they are, at the end of the day, they did have errors, and they have to be punished. If they do chesed with one another, merachim aleim, the Rebbeinu Shalom has rachmanos and removes anything that may be happening over there. And that is unbelievable. And as Rav Avigdor Miller actually points out as well, that the chesed doesn't only mean acts of chesed that may be done, but also displaying good midas that a person could be doing as well. V'zoiche chazdei ovos. When we say in Shemoneh Esrei, v'zoiche chazdei ovos means the schus of the chesed of the ovos wasn't necessarily the chesed they did for each other, which they also obviously did, but more the acts, the midas that they displayed to others. And therefore, that's a gewaldige skula. So we have over here something unbelievable. When Klal Yisrael are posed to be punished for what they did wrong, the Rebbeinu Shalom can save us because of one thing, chesed. And he brings a beautiful raya. Again, there's a lot of Kabbalistic things going on over here, but let's understand it. If any of you have learnt Yecheskel, you can look this up in the beginning of Perek Yud. Ba'arichas, he talks about this, that in Yerushalayim, we're talking about Bisman HaBeis HaMikdash Rishon, the first Beis HaMikdash. Klal Yisrael was saved, meaning the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, but Klal Yisrael was saved because of one thing, and that is because of the chesed that they did. Shenemar, as it says, Le Gavriel. Now, Gavriel, as we know, is the malach of Devorah, strength, which is sometimes used in order to carry out acts of punishment, retribution. And at the time of the Churban, the Rebbeinu Shalom gave permission and accepted all of the accusations against Klal Yisrael. And as the Pasuk says in Yecheskel Perek Yud Pasuk Beis, Boy el beinos the galgal, come between the wheels of the heavenly chariot. Now, what does that mean? What specifically, and why the reason did he send the Malach Gavriel? Ki hu sar hadin va'gvura. Gavriel is the Malach that was appointed on din and a gvura. Gavriel is from Midas Hagvura. In fact, it's put down to Kuni Zoya. Also, Gavriel is from the Sitra de Devorah, the Sashal Eish. The Zoya says, whatever that means. And the Gecholim, the coals that we're discussing over here, is a remnant of the Midas Hadin. V'nosan lo rishus lekabel koichas hadin beinois galgo metachas lakruvim me'esham mizbeach. That he was given the permission. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him the permission to accept these coals of fire, which is the remez to the koyach of the din, which burns, between the wheels of the chariots over there. That was between him and the Mizbeach. Dahainu din ukvuras hamalchus. Okay? And the Rebbeinu Shalom waited years and years for Klal Yisrael to do tshuva in this case over here. And that's what happened over here. Klal Yisrael needed to do tshuva. V'hoya din mischazik. And the din got more and more powerful because Gabriel had permission to destroy. That's it. The Rebbeinu Shalom gave him permission to uproot and destroy all of Klal Yisrael. Unbelievable thing. And literally overturn and overthrow the whole foundation of Klal Yisrael, to uproot the whole root. Because they did Averis, and they, at the end of the day, were chayiv in this case. Now, this is an amazing thing, what's going on over here, by the way. Now, let me just give you a little bit of background, just a tiny bit. Gavriel was told, the Malach Gavriel, was told to burn down the Beis HaMikdash. So he took the fire from the Mizbeach, and he set fire to the Beis HaMikdash. But there was a problem, because there was a heavenly chariot that was standing between him and the Mizbeach. So he was allowed, the Rebbeinu Shalom gave him permission, to go underneath the chariot. It's all a mashal, of course. Everything here is a mashal. But the idea is that Klal Yisrael were chayav misa. They were in trouble because they did averis, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu was waiting so that they will do tshuva. Okay. Uksiv vayera lekruvim tabnis. Listen, what happens now? Pasuk in Yecheskel. All of a sudden, vayera lekruvim tabnis yad odom tachas kanveim. All of a sudden, out of everything, the kruvim, as we know, did not have hands. They had wings. They did not have hands. But all of a sudden, hands appeared. Those hands are representing tzedakah, which is, of course, chesed. So basically what happened when the Rebbeinu Shalom was being miramis to Gavriel was the hand that Klal Yisrael were doing chesed to each other, and because of that, they were saved. These people do chesed with each other, and even if they're chayav to be destroyed, we're going to save them, and we're going to keep some leftovers. Now remember, some of them weren't destroyed. Many of them, Bisman HaChorban, the time of the Chorban Beis HaMikdash, were taka destroyed. However, the Rebbeinu Shalom kept some alive, and we are here today because of them, because of the chesed that they did for one another. Vahatam. What's the reason? The Middah zu, because of this Middah. The reason why the Rebbeinu Shalom saved Klal Yisrael is because of this Middah. Middah number 6 in the Torah Devorah, and that is ki chofetz chesed hu, meaning Roitza b'mashi Yisrael goyim chesed. HaKadosh Baruch Hu just wants the fact that we do chesed with each other. And even if they weren't so good in other areas, but the very fact that they excelled in the area of chesed, that saved them. Im kain. Here we go, Rabbi Side. Practicality. How do we build this in our own lives? What are we meant to do if we want to go along and emulate our Creator? Im kain b'midah zu roya odom. Listen, like if this is how a person should act. Af im yiresh odom oisulei rabach machisoi. Even if a person does something bad to you, and he angers you, he has a small thing, he does good for others, or there's even some kind of thing that he does amazingly well, that should be enough to mevatel the cast, the anger that you have in that case. People are sometimes so oblivious to other people's qualities. We don't look at it. Unfortunately, we see so often the bad in others. As the Heilige Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh once said, it's a mirror. The Rebbeinu Shalom showing us a mirror. You see some bad meat in somebody else? The Rebbeinu Shalom showing it's probably in you because you recognized it in someone else. There's a famous Israeli expression that the Israeli kids over here in the Beis Yaakov and the Chadam say, Misha medaber hu ba'atzmo. If you talk about someone else, like where you probably have it within yourself. Because if you recognize it within someone else, it means that the Rebbeinu Shalom is showing that you have it also. And therefore, what he's telling us is everyone has something good. And when someone angers us, it could be that they angered us, and it could be taka that we're right to be angry. But at the end of the day, let's start focusing on what they did good. And we say like, oh, wow, I saw that guy. There's a guy that walked into Beis Medrash and like nobody looked at him, and he went over to him and he gave him a hug, or he gave him to him and said good morning, and do you need a coffee, can I help you? Like, that was really nice of him. He angered me. I know, but he's really nice to other people. So there's something that we can look at in other people. That at the end, even if with me he did bad, at the end of the day, look how much good he does, and that should hopefully overpower everything else. The kol shekain, the ishtay. Interesting. He's mentioning now your wife. This can happen very often in relationships, right? The more you're closer to someone, the more likelihood you're going to hurt them, or they're going to be hurt by you, whatever it may be. So with your wife, even if your wife gets you angry, the Gemara says, you know what? Even if your wife drives you nuts, the very fact that she brings up your kids and she saves you from Aveira, right? Because you have pas b'saloi, that's enough that you should not get angry in that thing. And that's a very important thing. Concentrate on other people's good qualities, even if they're horrible to you. And you have the right to be angry, and you are angry. But you're going to be nice to them because they're wonderful, wonderful people. It's enough that he did one good thing to me or to someone else, or one wonderful middah that he happens to have. I tell this often to boys when they complain sometimes about different relationships, sometimes even with their own parents. They're like, I can't get on with my parents. They're horrible people, they're mean people, they're this, that, and the other, which is obviously not the case, but I always say that they've got something good. Right? Or for example, you have a boy that, get married and it's like, oh, my in-laws, oh my gosh, they drive me nuts, they're crazy, whatever it may be, right? Could be, I don't know. But like, do they do one thing amazing? You're like, oh wow, one thing they're like really good at, chesed, or tzedakah, whatever it may be. Look at that. Concentrate on that. That's what the Tomor Devorah is telling us over here. Concentrate on the good that everyone has, and even if someone angers you, that should overshadow the anger, just like the Rabbeinu Shalom took the chesed that we did, and it overshadowed all the bad that we did, and it saved all of Klal Yisrael. It can save so many relationships. But as Hashem Rabbi say, next week, Middah 7.